You're here for KVIFF's tribute to the Austin Film Society. I understand you started out making films in Boston, where you come from, and then moved to Austin. Why did you move to Austin?
Well, you know, I'd actually lived in Austin briefly before I made my first movie. So I first moved there as a very young man, almost purely because it sounded fun, you know, and at age 22 or 23, whatever it was, I needed no better reason to move somewhere than that it sounded fun. And it was fun, and I really fell in love with Austin then. I left in pursuit of those first films I did, but I had an opportunity. Years later, my third film we ended up shooting in Austin, and during that time I fell in love with somebody and decided it was a good time to move back to Austin and settle down and have some kids. So I'm very happy to be back there. It's certainly the most supportive filmmaking community I've ever known, and it's a very pleasant place to live, but a great place to make films.
Were you influenced at all the first time you went by Slacker?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think Slacker was probably the first way I ever heard of Austin, Texas. I was a teenager when that came out, and I loved it. It knocked my socks off, and so that was my first image of Austin. That and Dazed and Confused, which is not explicitly Austin the same way, but is very much kind of woven into the culture of Austin now. Those two films were really my primer.
And tell us more about the filmmaking scene there. How does it compare to other places like, for example, Hollywood?
Sure. Well, Hollywood is so industrial, and Austin is very much unlike that. So you know, Hollywood is a town that is where the film industry is a very large, looming presence, and things are done in a very industrial fashion. So that's fine, and good work does come out of there, of course, and there are plenty of wildly talented people there. But I tend to find that environment oppressive for me creatively. It doesn't excite me creatively, whereas Austin is, by definition, more independent and more free form, and it's just a nicer place to live.
Your first few films were quite lo-fi. Your most recent ones aren't like that. There was Results a few years ago. Your new film is called Support the Girls. What spurred that change, that move away from the lo-fi?
In part, you know, it is these practical concerns. In part, it's this, you know, can I do this and make a living, which is not always, those things don't always go together. But you know, it's just a different mode of storytelling. I love working lo-fi. I love working handmade, and in some ways, I think that will always be the most intuitive way to work for me. But I love all sorts of movies, and I think there's always an opportunity. And with any elements you're handed, with any formal constraints, you can always make something exciting. And so, you know, it was kind of time for me to try to take on that challenge. What if I do make something with recognizable actors and, you know, that little bit of polish that makes something commercially acceptable? Can I do that and still have it be coming from heart and soul? And that was the game with these two.